My name is Amanda Ring, and this is Flight of the Feminine. Here on Flight of the Feminine, I'm inviting you to explore and reclaim all things feminine, the divine and the dark. To awaken your womb and heart consciousness, I'm inviting you to open to the realms of energy and spirit, to evoke empowerment and create sovereignty. As a sacred soul, each one of you are on this journey through life. Welcome back to Flight of the Feminine. I'm Amanda Ring, your host. In this episode, Thoughts Become Things, we are going to dive into the power of the mind, the body, and the energy of your words. In episode 1, I shared a bit about my personal journey, taking flight with my own feminine heart and how I opened to a whole new chapter of my life in this last decade. But in that show, I really didn't get into specifics about this topic that we're going to go through today. A big part of the new chapter for me and the work that I do has been not only looking at how my own thoughts and words impact the relationship I have with myself, my self-perception, but also how thoughts shape reality, how thoughts become things. Thoughts obviously carry information about your beliefs and your perceptions, but they also hold an electromagnetic resonance. Did you know that both the brain and the heart have separate electromagnetic fields that communicate, and these create your overall electromagnetic field? And that the electric field of the heart is 60 times greater than the electrical amplitude of the brain. And that the magnetic field of the heart is 100 times greater than that of the brain. And it actually extends as far as 3 feet outward from the body. And often when I'm talking to clients or running events and gatherings where we're talking about energy, I get people to extend their arms out to both sides of their body as far as their arms can go. And I say, this is actually the distance of your auric field or your electromagnetic field. A lot of people have heard the term aura. Well, it's synonymous with electromagnetic field, or your toroidal field, because it's a torus shaped like a donut with you in the middle. And that is actually about 3 feet for most people. So that's really interesting that it correlates also more with the magnetic field and the electromagnetic field of the heart. If you want to learn a little bit more about all of that, I recommend highly looking at Joe Dispenza's work and the HeartMath Institute. There's tons of information and current research about all of this. And to go even further, each of your cells, every individual cell, is electromagnetic. And this is really important when we're talking about the brain, the heart, and our thoughts and our feelings and how they shape our reality. Thoughts also have a frequency, and mental energy in the form of thoughts are more electric in their nature. They create an electrical current in the brain. Thoughts have a direct influence on your emotional reactions, but the emotions are more magnetic in their essence. So when we combine these, we have electromagnetic frequency that informs your personal field, your auric field, your electromagnetic field. Current research shows that your emotional state directly influences your electromagnetic field. and that negative emotions makes your electromagnetic field weaker. Positive ones strengthen it. And that your heart and its electromagnetic field, remember, it has its own, separate from the brain, but that the heart itself, the field, the state of coherence that has is what creates harmony and integrity across all of your organs and your biological systems. So if you think about this, when you're thinking negative thoughts or you're experiencing a negative emotion, you typically start to feel something not so good in your body. But what is also happening is that your heartbeat is actually getting disordered because those emotional states are directly connected to the nervous system as well. But your heartbeat will get out of rhythm. As soon as you start being kinder and more compassionate to yourself, your heartbeat will go back into coherence, or it will go back closer to a more harmonious, coherent state. That's pretty profound, at least I think so. I think it's important for us to really dive into why this is so important and how you have so much power at the tip of your tongue, of your words, of your thoughts. Obviously, thoughts are made up of words. Your words, how you say them, your tone of voice, how they've been said to you, and how society typically uses them or defines them, all have created an imprinting in your psyche, in your subconscious mind. And all of these words and thoughts have a vibrational resonance. So if you consider words and thoughts like ingredients for a soup, and the soup is your mind, which ones you choose to put in the soup will affect the flavor and the quality of the soup, which is your mind, which in turn is what's nurturing your whole being. This is important. How words have been interpreted and are typically used create an energetic cascade of emotional response and internalized perceptions we already have. And this leads to an embodiment of what meaning you attach to them, and then what next action you're going to take, which is essentially creating your reality. Unless you have a good sense of interoception, which is the ability to sense the internal signals from your body that's informing you of how you feel at any given time, like you're hungry or you need the bathroom, but also things like when you're feeling frightened, like your stomach might hurt. That type of sensing, those internal signals, is what interoception means. It's internal. It's coming from within. So unless you have an awareness of that and a regular practice of self-inquiry, which actually helps you become aware of those signals, then much of your personal reality is getting shaped by your subconscious autopilot that has frequency set points that are created by your subconscious thought patterns. And we already know that a lot of what is subconscious has been influenced by our families, by society, and in fact goes right back to when you were in your mother's womb and what you were picking up from her emotional state and what was going on in the environment around her. That was precognitive, before there was an awareness of thought. But you were very much an electromagnetic being that was picking up what was happening in the resonance around you. And just to make another little metaphor, the subconscious mind is like running this autopilot of information, of thoughts, obviously made up of words, of perceptions, ideas. And that's just like when you're running your laptop with a program in the background that you've either forgotten about or you didn't know was running. And it's constantly going. And until you actually become aware of it, it just keeps going. So this is what this episode is about. And many of the episodes that we'll explore together in Flight of the Feminine is to go in and explore and learn about these things so that you actually can have more personal power over them and how to work with them. Something that's very important when it comes to shaping your own reality or co-creating your own reality is an understanding of the subconscious mind and the understanding of energy, because they're very similar. Your subconscious mind, inherently, it has no judgment. It doesn't know the difference between true or false. It only knows what it's been told, what you tell it, or what you've taken in. And that is very much like energy. Energy in itself is neutral. It does not discriminate. It simply goes where you place your attention, where you direct it. So, in order to empower yourself to be a more active participant in creating your reality, it is imperative, it's essential that you bring awareness to the subconscious and make it more conscious. Bring it into your awareness and to understand the energetics of this and to understand energy more, period. And this is why a lot of people who work in the field of energy, different types of healers and practitioners that are using that language, are also often paying attention to how you're talking to yourself, what your belief systems are like, what your mindset is. And it's called a mindset for a reason, because there's often a set of perceptions that are running in your mind all the time. There's often a focus on these things because you actually can shape them. They're not set in stone. But our ego does often tell us that they are. And so does society a lot of the time. So I know that's a lot of information, and I invite you to go back and listen to the episode again because it is really valuable. It's like putting tools in your toolbox as you start to learn these things if you're not familiar with them already. And I'm going to take you through a real life example to help you get a felt sense of how your thoughts become things and the importance of the energy of language. Something else I really want to highlight is that when you choose to take a closer look at frequency or at sensation, or how your thoughts and words and beliefs contribute to the co-creation of your reality, you are using your feminine energy. The feminine principle is what helps you get curious and connect to your sensory experiences, to your emotional states, and your sense of embodiment, being in your body, the state of being. When you embody something, whether it's a concept, a thought, a belief, you are actually then living it, which means you are actively nurturing more of that into existence. This is how thoughts become things. All right. We are going to take one of my least favorite words. It's the SH word. And it's not the one that you're thinking of. It's the word should. Should has a powerful impact. And the resonance of should tends to create a path that breeds inauthenticity and limiting beliefs. And these things obviously influence your reality, how you feel seen and heard, and how you connect with the world around you. Should itself equals the frequency of shame. Should and shame are practically synonymous. Now, there are times we're going to use the word should for things that are a little more innocuous, like I should take out the garbage. Yes, obviously, if I don't, it's going to smell and the house is going to stink. I should brush my teeth, these type of things. However, should has gotten absorbed into our psyche and utilized in a way that is so detrimental and interwoven with the experience of shame. And shame impacts your lived sense of potential and the frequency you're vibrating at and what you attract into your life in a very limiting way. I'm going to ask you to do a little experiment with me right now. And I want you to pause whatever it is you're doing. And you can still do this if you're driving. You don't have to pull over, but you can if you want. You're not needing your hands or your body in any way. And I want you to say these sentences I'm going to give you as if they were your own thoughts. I am certain you've had similar ones to these, or maybe these exact thoughts. I'm going to list them off, and I really just want you to either say them internally or even say them out loud. I should be working out more. I shouldn't have eaten that much. I should have realized that by now. I should be better at this. I should have known this was going to happen. Maybe say one of them again or a couple of them again. And while you are, how does your body feel when you're saying these things? I should be better at this. I should have known this was going to happen. How does your body feel? And where are you feeling whatever sensation is happening? Just take a moment to notice. Also, lean into how you're feeling emotionally while you make these statements. I should have realized this by now. I should be better at this. I shouldn't have eaten that much. I should be working out more. How do you feel emotionally saying those things? And then consider what thoughts often follow these should statements. Typically, what I hear, and not just from my clients, but the average person, friends, family, overhearing people in conversation at coffee shops, is something like, I should have known this was going to happen. I'm such an idiot. Or, I shouldn't have eaten that much. I'm so stupid. Now I feel sick. When will I learn? There's some other kind of statement that 99.99% of the time follows that should statement. Often, it's a judgmental statement or a punitive statement, something that is suggesting we need to make up for the not enoughness or the stupidity somehow. And these statements, the should statement and then the judgments, are actually lessening the trust you have in yourself and increasing a trust in something external, an authority outside of yourself. Should typically isn't your own voice. So whatever you are experiencing with your thoughts at any given time is a direct result of the energetic and nervous system response that you're having from those thoughts. And in this case, it's the word should. This word that we commonly use in our thoughts. Should, having this inherent quality of shame, you could say that it holds a vibration of shame, is really minimizing, because in most cultures, when should is used in this way, it denotes that there's been an error in judgment or thinking. An error in thinking, or worse, not just an error in your thinking, but there is something wrong with you. You are the root of the error. There's a difference between shame and guilt that Brené Brown delineated that I love. And that guilt is, I've made a mistake. Oh shoot, I did something wrong. I missed that. But shame is more like, I'm wrong. I'm not enough of something. There's something wrong with me. It's not just I made a mistake, like I'm wrong. Often when you say should to yourself and even to others, and we're going to talk about that in a second, that when should is thought or said, somewhere in your body feels ick. Something hurts, there's a constriction, there's tension, maybe even nausea. On an emotional level, there might be a feeling of shrinking, like feeling small, embarrassed. Right? Oh, I should have known better. God, I'm such an idiot. And all the while, there's this feeling of constriction. Something else before we go a little further that I feel is important for you to know, if you didn't know this already, is that the brain, nervous system, doesn't know the difference between when you're actually experiencing something or when you're remembering something or imagining something. The nervous system and your energy field will respond the same way. So if you get stuck in your I should have, and you're ruminating, and I should have done this, I shouldn't have done that, and it's in the past, well, your brain and your nervous system and your energy field are only knowing what you're telling it is happening in that statement and continuously responding to it. And that's where we can stay in these states of low-grade anxiety and low mood. And when we have those thoughts a lot, our brain and our nervous system just doesn't know that it's not actually happening anymore. So we keep creating that reality. So that's really important when we have a trauma response or our nervous system response, or we see patterns in the sensations in our body. The body, if we're worried about something that's going to happen or something that happened in the past, the brain and the body don't know that it's not happening right now because it doesn't discriminate that way. It doesn't know the difference. So that's important to know, because you can, with that power of knowledge and wisdom, start to become more aware of that, notice the patterns, and influence the pattern, which helps you shape your reality. So if we go back to those sentences, I should have done this, I should have known better, I should be better at this. We're going to release that because of what I just shared. When we even conjure those feelings through those thoughts and statements, our nervous system's responding. Our energy field is responding. So let's take a few breaths together to clear that energy and clear that resonance of shame. because it doesn't feel very good. So what I'm going to invite you to do now, we're going to take 3 inhales and exhales together. But the inhale is going to be through the nose. When you breathe in through your nose, you're going to hike up your shoulders by your ears, make fists with your hands. You can't even scrunch up your face if you want. And then when you exhale, you're going to exhale out through your mouth, and you're going to let everything release and drop. Your shoulders will drop, your hands will release. You can let your face go back to normal. You might even shake your arms. Shaking helps to reset the nervous system, and this tighten and release helps the nervous system also respond in a way to go back into coherence. So, if you're ready, we will move into 3 inhales and exhales together. Taking a big breath in through your nose, hiking up your shoulders, tighten everything, and exhale out through your mouth, dropping everything. Take 2 more of those, and if you need to sigh on your exhale, do it. Big breath in. And the last one. Great. Remember that. And use it anytime you've used the word should, because no doubt you've constricted somewhere. Most likely when we went through those examples, you had a sense of constriction or tightness in your body when you said those things to yourself or said them out loud. You could have experienced a sense of heaviness in the body or lightheadedness even. Why? Because the resonance of the word should is so closely connected to shame, it creates a shutting down because inherently it has criticism, inadequacy. There's a sense of condemnation or regret. Should creates shutdown. It creates constriction. Should causes emotional withdrawal and rigidity. It also minimizes your energy field. And I can show people this with my dowsing rods and with my pendulum. I can show them by getting them to say these statements and show them where their auric field is extended to and then how it shrinks back close to their body. So it minimizes your energy field. We know with negative emotions, the electromagnetic field weakens, but it also constricts. Shame can also show up with its twin, blame. So if we're not comfortable with the experience of embarrassment or shame, or when we use the word should, there's some form of internal criticism going on. If we're not comfortable or feel like we know how to deal with those feelings or those emotions, we will often project that and blame it on someone else or even a circumstance, a government, an event, the weather, you name it. So in that way, shame can actually create expansion. The word should can create expansion, but it's more in the form of like a laser beam. It's projected at one thing. It's not expansive like a feeling that helps you feel open and hopeful. When shame shows up and blame shows up, it creates separation. It's me versus you, us versus them. It's me and the world. So again, that is fragmenting. And this is so important because we can feel it in our bodies. We can really feel it. And often the word should, shame and blame often sneak in the back door when we use it, is very much steeped in a root of comparison and competition, which once again is this patriarchal energy of control. And often when we feel like we should have done something that we didn't, we're comparing to something outside of ourselves or something someone else has done or shared or something we've done in the past, that we then need to conform. We need to change according to something outside of ourselves. And that criticism of ourself or of someone else, shaming someone else by saying, God, you should have known better. That we're saying that in a way that subconsciously we're hoping that will motivate change. But it's based on very rigid standards. And usually this is some form of internalized patriarchal way that we're experiencing life. A couple of examples of that might be a child of this age shouldn't be playing with dolls. Or a man of this education level shouldn't be doing X, Y, Z, fill in the blank. A woman of this age shouldn't be wearing that. These are all based on some external standard or authority, and people will internalize that and feel ashamed and question themselves. Like, oh, should I not be wearing that? Or should I be doing this with my life? Or should I be doing what they're saying I should be doing with this level of education or living in this part of the country? Or shouldn't I be behaving this way according to some rules that we have to compare to and conform to? It restricts, it feels minimizing and unstable, destabilizing. So this is something just to consider that I invite you to be aware of when not only you're referring to yourself, but you're referring to others, even people you don't know. Because how that all feels is shaping how you embody and how you make your next choices. And when you're feeling I should and feeling shame, ask yourself, as your next steps, are those next steps aligning with your true desires, your true potential? Are they aligning with love, with kindness, with hope, with optimism? Typically not when should is involved or shame is involved. They're being shaped by this voice that isn't your own, by someone else's standards or expectations that were imprinted upon your psyche, past experience, by society, by your family. And they actually take away from your own preferences and your own intuitive sensing and knowing. It is important to be mindful of how you use should with others, because you are impacting their personal power. And you could be having a very heart-based intention when you say, oh, you should watch this, or you should try this diet, or you should try this supplement, or you should try this new exercise because I'm having great results. Obviously, the tone of that, the energy of that feels very different. However, the word should can still be saying, I know better than you. However, everybody's different. And that should can make that person question themselves. It can also shut people down, and they can immediately feel a bit rigid when somebody says, oh, you should do this, you should do that. We all know what that feels like when people say that to us. So I'm not disregarding that when we use that word, it can come from a place of good intention, but it doesn't always support a person to choose for themselves. Think about sometimes when you say it to yourself as well, like when someone shares with you, oh man, I've been running every morning, or I've started meditating, and your thought goes, oh, I should be doing that too, because I know it's good for me, or I used to do it and I used to feel so good and I should be doing that again. Well, depending on the tone of that should, it could be stoking inspiration and motivation for you, or it could be stoking self-judgment and envy and jealousy, which we know all have a lower resonance and frequency and actually keep us stuck rather than help us open and create momentum forward. So an alternative to this is to open to the feminine principle and explore this from a matriarchal wisdom way, which is creative and more expansive in its nature and its energy. The feminine principle aligns more with love, with energy that connects to openness, personal preference, limitlessness, growth, change, hope. We're going to jump into that experiment again, and we're going to replace all those shoulds with my other word that's actually my favorite. Should is one of my least favorites, and could is one of my most favorites. And I invite you to substitute should with could for these same thoughts. So instead of, I shouldn't have eaten that much, I could have eaten less, but I didn't. I should have realized that by now. I could have realized that by now, but I haven't. I should be better at this. I could be better at this, but I'm not. I should have known that was going to happen. I could have known that was going to happen, but I didn't see it coming. Another example, I could have waited to say that, but I didn't. Just see how these feel in your body. What sensations do you feel saying could instead of should? It's one word that changes, but the energy is quite different. How the body responds is quite different. What emotions feel present when you're saying could instead of should? Could creates openness. It creates courage. It creates that sense of expansion. It invites compassion, curiosity. So if we take, I could have waited to say that, but I didn't. I think we can all relate to that when we say something that was like, oh man, shit, I shouldn't have said that right now, right? We say, I shouldn't have said that. It slipped out, it came out. But what if we said to ourselves, even later, I could have waited to say that, but I didn't. Right in that statement is self-accountability, is self-awareness. There's potential to learn. And one of the most important things is that there's a creation of safety. There's less judgment. So we could say, oh, I could have waited to say that. And if I had, I might have been clearer in what I wanted to say. I could have waited to say that, but I didn't. And now I see that the timing wasn't quite right and it wasn't helpful for me to say it then. We can use that feminine principle of curiosity and going within to ask the question, why didn't I wait? Why didn't I wait to say that? Because this isn't about the other person and what they were saying. This is about, why am I behaving this way? Why did I choose that? So why didn't I? Well, you might discover I was scared. I was caught off guard. And when you open to that, there is increased self-acceptance. There's an acknowledgement of your own humanness. And there's an acknowledgement that you actually had a choice, and you have a choice in the future. When we use could in place of should, we stoke this courage to be honest with ourselves about situations, and that builds self-trust. It builds capacity. And it helps us be more compassionate and safe to go further into our own inquiry. It helps us lead to this wondering of why. It opens the mind and the heart and the body. When we do this, it's connecting us inherently to infinite potential. So there's a broader and more enlivened bandwidth of energy we get to play in. There's more of a variety of emotional energy, and there's more mental freedom. It doesn't shut things down and make it rigid. Could really elevates and expands your mental and emotional potential. It also soothes the nervous system. When I say could instead of should, there's a softening that happens in my body, and there's more of a stability and a steadiness. So if I were to say I should be working out more, I'm feeling a little bit of panic and anxiety, or like I'm doing something wrong and I'm failing, or I haven't been devoted enough, or like all these other thoughts just come flying in, and they're all very constricting. But if I say to myself, I could be working out more, but I'm not. I'm accepting what I'm doing. I'm accepting the choices I'm making. I'm accepting the fact and the situation as it is. And I just all of a sudden, I just feel this drop in a good way, not in a plummeting in my stomach and feeling embarrassed or anxious. So the inner feminine wisdom way is to explore, to expand, to open, to go inward for the answers and create new from what you learn. And we can really use our own inner masculine energy as well when we're doing this, because the masculine helps to protect this learning, helps us to organize our thoughts and our intentions, and helps us stoke our personal will and determination to try something different the next time, to see something through. So you can see how the energy of your thoughts, the felt sense of them in your body, and consequently the embodiment of your words and thoughts lead to shaping the manifestation of your reality. There's a quote that I like: "The focus of your attention sets up a vibration of energy in your electromagnetic field that attracts experiences related to what you focus on." This is how thoughts become things. And truly, you are the only one who can think your thoughts. So, as further invitation for your own transformation and leaning in to your feminine energy, feminine principles, lean in and get curious about how the thoughts and words that you use feel in your body and why you use them. Are they yours? Are they expansive and loving and connect you to your potential? So I really hope that you have found this not only interesting but insightful, but also a source of inspiration to experiment more with how your own words and thoughts influence and shape your reality. My last little bit of what I call soul work instead of homework is, for a week, replace all of your shoulds with coulds. And let me know how things go and how life changes for you. It will. And it will reveal to you how much that word gets used and how it feels. And when you replace it with could, how things open up, how things settle within yourself. I'd be so curious to hear from you. See how that little experiment goes should you decide to take me up on it. 2 other things you can look to is on my blog, there's an interesting one called Spelling the Energy of Language. So if you've liked this theme and this topic of exploration, go have a read of that blog. And on my YouTube channel, 2 years ago, I did a little video as I was walking in the field, and it was about should and this invitation to replace it with could. The first part of it, the audio is terrible because it was windy, but just get past that first minute, I stop walking and things settle down. You can hear it very clearly. So if you want another little reminder and you want to see this beautiful field that I get to walk in all the time, go check that out. And if this has piqued your interest on how to work more with self-inquiry and how you embody that in a new way and embody energy of your words in a new way, check out the Wise Woman Awakening course, because there are in every module self-inquiry journal questions. We work with intentional affirmations, but in a very embodied way. The actual felt sense of these and movement practices to move out of those more limiting experiences of language into more expansive and transformative experiences. I'm sure in a future episode, I'll geek out a little bit more on the energetics and the vibrational sides of things, so stay tuned for that. Our next episode on Flight of the Feminine is going to be another one you might find really useful and interesting. And it's called Your Body is Talking. Are you listening? So if that piques your curiosity, tune in. Episodes for Flight of the Feminine drop every second Friday, so make sure that you are marking your calendars. Please like and share, and check out my website, my Instagram and Facebook feeds, and online courses for all of the resources that are there for you to support your own healing journey. It's time, my sisters, to elevate your mind, expand your feminine heart, explore your inner wisdom. Let's soar together. Sending you all big, big love.
This is Story Studio Network.